Picture this. It's 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're sitting in your driveway in a quiet suburb outside of Austin, Atlanta, or maybe Phoenix. You're gripping the leather steering wheel of a $55,000 SUV that still has that intoxicating new car scent. You just finished a 10-hour shift at a job that drains your biological battery to 0% every single day. You look at the digital dashboard. You look at your house with the manicured lawn. On paper, you've made it. You're earning six figures. You've followed the great American blueprint to the letter. But as you sit there in the silence of that cabin, there's a cold, gnawing sensation in your chest. A realization you've been suppressing between Zoom meetings and spreadsheets. You are wealthy, yet you are completely broke. And you thought that car was a reward for your hard work. You thought that 72-month financing plan was just smart leverage. You thought debt was a financial tool to help you own things today that you'd pay for tomorrow. It isn't. Tonight, I'm going to prove to you that debt is not a financial transaction. It is a biological heist. It is a sophisticated piece of social engineering designed to do one thing and one thing only: function as a time machine that only travels backward. Every time you swipe that heavy metal credit card for a lifestyle upgrade you can't pay for in cash, you aren't just borrowing dollars. You are reaching into the future 10, 15, 20 years from now. And you are kidnapping the older version of yourself. You are forcing that 55-year-old version of you to stay chained to a desk they hate, hot in a city they want to leave, just to pay for a vehicle or a vacation that the current version of you has already forgotten about. We live in a country that runs on the FICO score illusion. We've been conditioned to believe that as long as we can afford the monthly payment, we can afford the life. But monthly payment is just corporate speak for incremental slavery. Now, before we perform a forensic autopsy on your debt, you need to decide if you're ready to see the numbers for what they actually are. Most people prefer the comfort of the lie. But if you're here because you're tired of being a passenger in your own life, then you belong with us. By subscribing to Bond Money Mind, you aren't just following a channel. You are joining a collective audit of the system. And you are signaling that you are ready to stop being the product and start being the owner. If you want to master the math that they purposely kept out of your classroom, hit that subscribe button now. Let's make sure this is the last time you ever feel powerless in your own driveway. In this audit, we are going to perform a forensic examination of the American debt trap. We're going to look at why a $150,000 salary feels like poverty in 2026, and how the convenience economy has successfully removed the pain of paying from your brain, leaving you financially numb while you bleed out. I'm going to show you the math of time ownership. By the end of this session, you won't look at your bank account the same way again. You won't see numbers. You'll see days, weeks, and years of your life that have been pre-sold to a bank in Charlotte or New York. The gates to the trap are wide open, and most of your neighbors are sprinting inside because the lighting is good and the seats are heated. It's time to stop running. It's time to start the audit. To understand why you feel like you're drowning while earning a salary that should make you a king, we have to perform an autopsy on the language of modern finance. In the United States, we've developed a very polite, very professional vocabulary to describe the act of staying broke. We call it building credit. We call it utilizing installment loans. We call it lifestyle financing. But here, at Bond Money Mind, we don't use the bank's marketing dictionary. We call it by its forensic biological name, the future thief scam. Here is the one-sentence definition of this trap. The future thief scam is the engineered belief that you can enjoy the fruits of your next 10 years of labor today without paying a massive tax on your soul and your sanity. The American financial system has spent billions of dollars on behavioral psychology research for one reason. They know that the human brain is not wired to understand compound interest intuitively, but it is hardwired for instant gratification. Your biology is running on primitive software from 10,000 years ago, but you're living in a 2026 economy designed by algorithms to exploit that exact weakness. The banks have successfully decoupled the joy of ownership from the pain of paying. When you tap that heavy titanium credit card or use one-click checkout on Amazon, your brain doesn't register a loss. It registers a win. It releases a hit of dopamine as if you've just hunted a mammoth, when in reality, you've just walked into a digital cage. This is a deliberate identity theft of time. Look at the blueprint of a standard American life. From the moment you turn 18, the system hands you the first key to the prison, the student loan. They call it an investment in yourself. Then comes the financed wedding, the zero-down SUV, and the 30-year mortgage in a zip code that requires you to work 80 hours a week just to maintain the lawn. By the time you hit 35, you don't actually own your life. You are a tenant of your own existence. You think you're accumulating assets, but you are actually accumulating obligations. Every signature on a financing contract is a legal agreement to sell a piece of your future focus, your future health, and your future freedom. And you are betting, at very high stakes, that the 50-year-old version of you will still be healthy enough, sharp enough, and motivated enough to keep grinding at a desk to pay for a vacation that the 30-year-old version of you has already forgotten about. The future thief scam is sitting in your mailbox right now, disguised as a pre-approved offer. It's sitting in your phone as a "Buy Now, Pay Later" button. It's stealing your sleep, it's eroding your marriage, and most importantly, it is stripping away your power of no. When you have zero debt, you have the power to say no to a toxic boss. You have the power to say no to a soul-crushing commute. But when you are a victim of the future thief, you have to say yes to everything the system demands of you, because on the first of the month, the thief comes to collect his cut. Now that we've named the enemy, it's time to use the most powerful weapon in our arsenal to dismantle it. It's time for the numbers. It's time for the forensic math. It's time to stop the emotional justification and start the forensic dissection. In the world of Bond Money Mind, we only care about one equation: truth equals subtraction. Society wants you to focus on the gross illusion. They want you to brag about your six-figure salary or that $50,000 raise. But gross is just a ghost. It's a number designed to make you feel powerful so that you'll spend like a king while living like a servant. To find the truth, we have to strip away the layers until we find your real net. Let's take the ultimate American status symbol, the $70,000 heavy-duty truck or luxury SUV. You see the sticker price, $70,000. The dealership tells you that with your great credit, you can drive it home for just $1,100 a month. You look at your paycheck, you see a few $1,000s left over, and you think, I can afford this. Let's apply the scalpel. First, we subtract the interest tax. At today's average rates over a 7-year loan, that $70,000 truck actually costs you $91,000. You are handing $21,000 of your future labor to a bank just for the privilege of borrowing their money. That's the first year of your child's college tuition, gone before you even hit the first 1,000 miles. Next, we subtract depreciation, the silent thief. The moment you pull out of that dealership, you lose roughly 15% of the value. By the time you finish paying off that $91,000 in 7 years, that truck will likely be worth $28,000. You spent nearly $100,000 to own something worth less than $30,000. So that is a $63,000 assassination of your net worth. But here is the forensic detail that the banks pray you never calculate: the opportunity cost of your freedom. If you took that $1,100 monthly payment and invested it into a standard S&P 500 index fund for those same 7 years, you would have roughly $120,000. If you simply left that money alone to grow until you hit retirement age, that one single truck decision, that one monthly payment, actually cost you over $800,000 in future wealth. You didn't buy a truck, you bought $1 million hole in your future. Now, let's translate those numbers into life hours. If you are a high earner in the US, making $45 an hour after taxes and expenses, but you have to work 2,000 hours just to pay for the raw cost of that vehicle. That is 1 full year of your life. 1 year of sitting in fluorescent-lit offices, 1 year of navigating corporate politics, and 1 year of being away from the people you actually love, all to pay for a depreciating asset that spends 95% of its time sitting in a driveway. When you look at the math, you realize the system isn't selling you transportation. It's selling you a pre-sold life. You are legally obligated to be productive for the next 2,000 hours of your existence just to fund a choice you made in 15 minutes at a dealership. And as you sit there processing the sheer weight of these numbers, I want to remind you why we are doing this. So the world is designed to keep you in a state of calculated confusion. They want you to focus on the monthly payment, so you never look at the total life cost. But you're here because you're ready to break the cycle. If this forensic breakdown is hitting home, make sure you've joined the Bond Money Mind community by hitting that subscribe button. We don't do budgeting here. We do liberation math. We are auditing the lies of the middle class until we find the path to true ownership. Every time you say yes to a payment, you are increasing your burn rate. You are making yourself more fragile. You are making it impossible to walk away. In the next part, we're going to look at the invisible costs, the life drains that don't show up on your bank statement, but are quietly destroying your ability to think, create, and breathe. And I'm not saying all debt is an act of terrorism against your future. Strategic leverage, when used to acquire cash-flowing assets or a primary residence you can actually afford, can be a tool for growth. But we have to stop pretending that a $70,000 depreciating tank is a strategic investment. Most of what you've been told is leverage is actually just a high-interest anchor tied to your neck. If the math we just did felt like a punch to the gut, brace yourself, because the numbers on a bank statement are only half the story. The most dangerous thing about the future thief scam isn't the dollars it takes from your pocket. It's the vitality it drains from your soul. In forensic accounting, we call these the life drains. These are the costs that don't show up in your Mint app or your Excel spreadsheets, but they show up in your medical records, your sleep patterns, and the look in your partner's eyes. Let's look at invisible cost number 1, the anxiety tax. In America, debt is the leading cause of chronic stress. When you are carrying a balance on 3 different credit cards and a car note that consumes 30% of your take-home pay, that your brain enters a permanent state of low-level survival mode. You aren't just thinking about your work anymore. You are constantly running a background program in your mind, calculating if you can afford that unexpected vet bill or if the car tires can last another 3 months. Research shows that severe financial stress can actually lower your effective IQ by 13 points. You aren't stupid. You're just paying a massive cognitive tax to a bank. You're less creative, less patient, and less present, all because your brain is being held hostage by a spreadsheet. Next, we have cost number 2, the career handcuffs. Debt is the greatest enemy of ambition. How many Americans are currently sitting in a cubicle or a Zoom meeting they despise, working for a boss who devalues them, most simply because they have a lifestyle burn rate that requires every cent of their paycheck? When you owe the system, you lose your quit power. You can't take a risk on that startup idea. You can't pivot to a career that actually fulfills you. You are a high-earning prisoner. The bank doesn't need to put bars on your window when they can just put a mortgage and 2 car payments on your back. You aren't working for a promotion. You're working for survival disguised as success. Finally, there is cost number 3, the relationship erosion. Money isn't just paper, it's a proxy for safety. When a household is drowning in debt, the home is no longer a sanctuary, it's a high-pressure cooker. You aren't fighting with your spouse about the dishwasher or the kids. You are fighting because the financial margin has disappeared. And there is no room for error. Every small mistake becomes a catastrophic threat to your shared future. You are trading your intimacy for stuff, and you're wondering why you feel so lonely in a house full of premium furniture. These life drains are the reason why making more money rarely fixes the problem. If you increase your income but maintain your debt-fueled lifestyle, you are just building a bigger, more expensive cage. You're still paying the anxiety tax. You're still wearing the career handcuffs. You're just doing it in a nicer zip code. You see, the system doesn't just want your money. It wants your compliance. It wants you too tired to protest, too stressed to innovate, and too distracted by convenience to realize that you are being liquidated. Every subscription you forgot to cancel, every interest-free installment, every buy now click is a tiny vampire attached to your jugular. But here is the truth that the future thief doesn't want you to know. The moment you stop feeding the vampires, they lose their power. In the next section, we're going to dive into the biology and psychology of the trap. We're going to look at why your own brain is working against you and how you can rewire your instincts to stop being a victim of the system and start being the architect of your own freedom. Before we talk about the cure, I need you to stop blaming yourself. You aren't bad with money. Your brain is simply running on prehistoric software in a hyper-optimized digital jungle. Evolutionarily, we are wired for loss aversion and immediate gratification. 10,000 years ago, if you found a source of sugar or energy, you consumed it immediately because it might not be there tomorrow. Today, Chase, Amex, and Apple have weaponized that survival instinct. They've removed the physical pain of paying. When you swipe a card, your brain doesn't feel the loss of resources. It only feels the hit of dopamine from the new acquisition. You aren't losing a battle of will. You are losing a battle against billions of dollars of neurological engineering. The system is working exactly as designed. It's just not designed for your freedom. And now, let's perform the exorcism. We are going to take back your math in 3 concrete steps that you can start tonight. Step 1. The hourly wage reality check. Stop thinking in annual salaries. Take your real net from part 3, the money left after taxes, commuting, and stress spending, and divide it by the total hours you spend being professional. If you realize you're actually working for $12 an hour while driving a car that costs $50 a day to own, the illusion will shatter. Keep that number on a sticky note in your wallet. Every time you're about to buy something, ask, is this worth 10 hours of my life? Step 2. The 30-day friction rule. The future thief thrives on speed. Kill it with friction. For any purchase over $100 that isn't a basic necessity, you must wait 30 days. But write it down on a list. If you still want it after 30 days and you can pay for it in cash, buy it. You'll find that 90% of the things you needed were just temporary dopamine cravings that evaporate within 48 hours. Step 3. Kill the smallest vampire. Tonight, go through your bank statement with a red pen. Find every subscription, every small recurring fee, and every service you haven't used in 30 days. Cancel them. It's not about the $10. It's about reclaiming the territory of your mind. It's about proving to yourself that you are the auditor, not the product. We need to install a new definition of success in your bond money mind. Success is not a high FICO score. It's not a house with 4 bathrooms you have to clean on your weekends. But it's not the admiration of neighbors who are just as broke and stressed as you are. Success is time ownership. Success is having a net life where your expenses are so low and your assets are so intentional that you own every second of your Tuesday afternoon. Success is the peace of no, the ability to walk away from anything that threatens your integrity because you don't owe anyone a dime of your future. You didn't fail the American dream. You did everything right. You got the degree, you got the job, you got the credit limit, and you got the lifestyle. And that's exactly the problem. The right path was a treadmill designed to keep you running in place while the banks collect the energy you generate. You've been a passenger in a time machine that's been taking you exactly where you don't want to go. It's time to hop out. It's time to stop pre-selling your future for a present you don't even enjoy. Take back your math. Take back your mind. I'm Bond. This was your audit. This was